Hello, theme park enthusiasts, and welcome back to Planet Coaster. In this episode, I'm going to finish up the Warner Brothers Resort Citywalk, at least in what I'm calling the Phase 1 of the Citywalk. So with that, there's one more structure I want to put in, and it is another ride. It is another gondola. This one is going to be going to what I have mentioned before, a water park. Now, I have no intention of building said water park because in Planet Coaster, there just isn't the capabilities really to create a water park. It doesn't have the proper ability to do water rides and such, so I'm not going to actually build that. If I come across a game in the future that allows for a water park and such, then perhaps I will create this water park so that it is at least sort of constructed and visual for people to be able to enjoy. But for now, what I'm doing is just basically putting in the gondola ride that will go to that water park and leaving what that water park is as a bit of a blank. As I said, hopefully Planet Coaster 2 does happen in the future and such, and with that we're able to actually get the enjoyment of having water park capabilities along with a lot of rides that I'm missing right now, and hopefully just some other quality of life improvements. But until that occurs, for right now, it's just going to be a thought that this resort would have a water park. So, with that in mind and sort of out of the way, let's go ahead and get to the construction of this place. Now, it is a water park, so with that in mind, I wanted to go with sort of a theme that fit for that. So you're going to see I'm using some wood planking here as far as the flooring, and I'm going to use a lot of the pirate set pieces for this. I did find these that somebody had created on the workshop, and as with all of the episodes for this series, I will go ahead and include the information on where I got the different workshop items from, so that way if you want them yourself, you can go ahead and pick them up. Person did a nice job of making a little trident there to go with the statue, and I like that, so I definitely wanted to have that for mine, as I am going to be naming this, as you'll see here in a moment, Poseidon Park. Now, originally I had thought about naming it Bikini Bay. That is a company that exists in the world. I had thought about making this like Poseidon's Fury or Poseidon's Wrath or anything of that nature. Those are all names that are actually taken by different people throughout the world. So with that in mind, I had to go for something that wasn't used, and it's simple, but Poseidon Park I felt like worked. I'm here just trying to change the colors up to fit with the Warner Brothers colors, so changing them to blue and gold versus the sort of tan and green colors that they were. Got those working. And then here, as I said, I'm going to go with a lot of theming for this gondola ride that is more sort of geared towards the water. So we're going to have a shipwreck pretty much around the gondola in its different pieces here. And then we're going to have a lot of pirate theming here over by the queue line. Now, I will say, personally, this might be the favorite queue line that I've ever done for a ride. I really do like getting into the pirate materials here, and I think they work out great. So hopefully you'll agree that this actually came out looking really good in the end. Here, I didn't like the sort of cartoonish style of the wood that the sign was, so I had this planking that sort of looked like driftwood, and I just go ahead and fill in the sign with that planking, so that way it's sort of covered and has more of a rustic feel to it. Could have changed the actual lettering, but I thought that the lettering worked alright the way it was. Now with this, I am going to make some choices here. I did have things that I looked at, such as you will see here of an octopus. I've got the sharks, of course, everything like that. And I do love using those. I probably will use those in one or multiple of the parks that I create in the future. But for right now, I felt like for this, that was a bad idea. I wanted this to be sort of cheery and happy overall because of the fact that these people are going to a water park. The last thing I sort of want them thinking about is sharks or something where their kids won't go into the water at all. So with that in mind, I steered away from anything that could have been sort of scary in that way. The scariest thing is probably a cannon firing and maybe that skeleton there for the pirates in the cage. But overall, as I said, I wanted it sort of whimsical. I wanted it to sort of feel like it's an amusement park because it's the lead-in to an amusement park. And especially because of the fact that since I can't actually even design this park because it is a water park, I at least want the one thing you will see about the park to look really nice. And so I wanted to theme this up sort of originally and creatively. So I'm using pretty much all the different pieces from the pirate set here. Most of this is not created items by people, so there's not going to be a lot of created items in this particular episode, and I'm proud of that. I'm actually using the stuff that's in-game because it's actually really well done and very cool. Now, as I had said in the previous episode, this will be the last episode of the Citywalk here, at least for the time being. The way I look at it is, this is stage 1. After this, there won't be an addition to the Citywalk for a long time, because I'm planning on spending a very long time on doing the Studios Park that I have planned. As I said, it may even come down to it being in multiple chunks, because just running capability-wise, it may not work in one part. If that is the case, what I will do probably is I will create it separately so that it functions, but then I will go ahead and also combine it together so that it flows in one park as it's supposed to, and also put that on the workshop. So if you've got just an absolutely amazing computer and are able to do things like that, by all means, you enjoy running the park as one chunk. I don't have those capabilities. My computer's okay, but not that top of the line, as you're going to see in this episode. Because once I sort of turn it on here and let the guests start walking around, I suddenly realize I have a massive problem, and the guests are very, very laggy. So I end up having to empty the park out of all the guests, and then I allow 100 people back in, which you'll see at the very end of the episode, and that works well enough. It's not perfect, but it does work okay. So here, I wanted to put in my own fencing. I wanted to do something a bit different than just the standard, and so played around with fencing here some, and also I wanted to add lighting to this queue. So I wanted to put these torches in right into the fencing, so that way they light up the area nicely. They give it sort of that more primitive feel that I want from this area. But again, it's not something dangerous or scary. Again, as I've said in previous episodes, pretty much when I put fire in on my parks, I'm thinking of it as some kind of electronically generated thing, because I wouldn't want the park to have the gas expenses of having fire in their park every day of the week, and I don't want the heat that it's going to generate for the guests, which is going to be annoying. I don't want the danger that also brings with it. So for the time, for what's going on in the park, we're going to say that these are somewhat fictional fire here. They're going to be electronic in nature. They are going to provide the lighting you need, but there's no heat to them, and it's definitely not something that will be dangerous to the guests. Especially with how close I'm putting it to wood structures and such here. Yeah, fire wouldn't exactly work, especially just random open torches that could, drop down embers onto the wood planking right below them. That would not work out well. But how it comes out looking here, I was really pleased with. So basically, I'm just copy and pasting sections over as need be, and same thing with the torches. I think my wife was heading off to work at that moment, so there was a little pause there. I do apologize. But as I said, I really do like how this comes across and how it looks. And it's something, as I said, I do hope to do in the Studios Park. The big question for me on the Studios Park is, where do I have to sacrifice detail at times to make it where the thing actually functions well? And I don't know the answer to that yet. That is something I'm going to have to see and experiment with as I get into the Studios Park. There are some things I am unwilling to negotiate on. I know what they are going to look like. I know how I want them to be, and that's just the way it is. And if that means that the game is going to have a bit of a slowdown because of it, I will have to accept that. But that is something that I will see when I get into the Studios Park. As I said in the previous episode, I have no intention of releasing that park until pretty much the first section is entirely done. So with that, there is going to be a pause of Planet Coaster material here on the channel. For one, I am hoping, and I'm really putting a lot of emphasis on hoping, to be moving here in a month or two. My wife and I are really wanting to move to Texas. We have a town in mind that we really like, and so we're hoping at the beginning of February to go looking at some different places there and to see how it all goes. So I am recording a bunch of stuff in advance that will be on the channel, because During that time, I'm going to be busy with packing, moving, everything of that nature, so I won't be able to actually game as much then. But do not worry, there will be new content for you to still enjoy on the channel. Now here, as I've mentioned before, I sometimes like to make a feature out of an issue. So with it, the fencing wasn't lining up at the corners exactly. And instead of fighting with it, what I did instead is, in a lot of cases, used barrels to sort of cover those corners where it didn't line up perfectly. And I really actually like the way it looks, because it's the kind of thing that you would have possibly seen in sort of a pirate type area. They're not going to worry about things being exact, they're just going to make them functional. And so I felt like it gives a nice realism to the place, and just it worked out overall for what I was wanting. Same thing here, I had a corner, didn't exactly work as far as being lined up, so we just put some barrels to cover that corner. But we are getting close to the end of this episode, and with it, we are getting close to the end of this city walk. Now, I will return to the city walk in the future after the Studios Park is done, because we will then be talking about the next park for Warner Brothers here. And I will need to add in a gondola ride and theming for that gondola ride to this park. I might add in a few other things also at that point in time. But for now, this is going to be sort of the stage one of the city walk. And with it, I hope that you've enjoyed what I've done in this short series. If you have, please go ahead and click that like button. And if you've not already, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, so that you're aware when I produce new videos in the future. Thank you, and I hope to see you again for more Planet Coaster, more of my Warner Brothers Resort, and just overall gaming on the channel. Take care of yourselves.